I would like, quickly at this stage summarize the essential steps of an Italian real estate transaction. I will try to do so also with the support of my presentation that probably will make it easier for you to understand. Hopefully Luca will help me with this. He's already doing so. As you can see on the screen, the first step is the so-called Proposta irrevocabile dacquisto. It's the reservation offer. I would assume most of you probably saw your property on the internet and decided to come over to Italy. At that stage, you would most likely be in touch with a real estate agent. First of all, you want to make sure that this real estate agent is a serious one, is a professional one, is registered with the Chamber of Commerce and is legally entitled to practice such profession. If this is not the case, obviously you would be exposing yourself to some kind of risks. Furthermore, the real estate agent would not be legally entitled to the commission. So this aspect is actually quite significant. What is the reservation offer? The reservation offer is the first legal document which might be submitted to your attention. It's a document offering you the opportunity to take out the property from the market for a specific number of days. Obviously, in order to do so, you will have to pay a small deposit, but there is an aspect that to many investors is not clear. The reservation offer is a document that is only binding on the buyer unless the vendor is countersigning it. So this is something that should be clearly explained. You might have the impression that you have some potential rights on this property, but this is not the case until the vendor will countersign. That basically means that you might be signing a reservation offer, but until the vendor signs, the vendor will have the possibility to sell the property to another purchaser if he will find this more convenient for himself. So this step is a step that is very recurrent. Most of real estate agents would request you to sign this document. It is not essential. You might even want to consider the option, the possibility to sign directly a preliminary contract, which is normally speaking the step 2, I would say, of a real estate transaction. What is the preliminary contract? Something I would like, obviously to state beforehand is the fact that whenever you are submitted a standard contract, you want to be particularly attentive. Why is that? I would say in most cases, whenever a vendor or a real estate agent is submitting to you for your signature a standard contract, most likely this contract will be balanced in the direction of the vendor rather in yours. This is a good reason to get a professional to examine attentively this document before you sign it. Also because, as I clearly explained a few minutes ago, you also want to be sure of the quality of the translation, because sometimes if the translation is not correct, you might be misled and you might not have a perfect reflection of the Italian contract, which ultimately is going to be the only binding one. The second step, as I just mentioned, is the preliminary contract. The preliminary contract stipulates that both parties agree to buy and sell the properties. And it's, in my personal view, the essential and crucial document in a real estate transaction. It's the document containing all the essential elements of this transaction, all the commercial aspects, and once you will sign your preliminary contract, there is going to be very little space left once you will be ready for the signature of the deed of sale in front of the notary public. the essential elements of the contract will be clearly stated in the preliminary contract. So this is actually the legal deed which requests the maximum attention from any potential purchaser. What should appear in this preliminary contract? The essential elements are obviously the description of the property. You might believe that this element is obvious, but whenever you're buying something, your real estate agent might describe your property, but you want to make sure that what has been described to you appears exactly in the same way in the contract itself. The two things don't always necessarily occur. The details of the parties, and even in such case, I mean, this might seem an obvious aspect, but this is not necessarily the case, because sometimes you might have a situation where the vendor is not as evident as you might believe. This could be the case of joint ownerships, of complicated inheritance situations, where who's actually the true owner of the property is not something as obvious as you might believe is the case. The description of the final price, the deposit, the final payment modalities, obviously this is the most essential and commercial aspect of the deal, and you want to make sure and you want to understand exactly under what conditions you're supposed to pay the price and what's going to be ultimately the fully comprehensive price of the property you are purchasing. Conformity to building regulations. This is something that obviously will be part of the legal due diligence, and I mean, it's very unlikely that a non-professional will be in the position to analyze these aspects, but this aspect is one of the most essential ones. If you will end up buying a property which is not fully compliant with the building regulations, that means outside the legal jargon that you're buying a property which is illegal, and this could lead in the future to significant legal problems. Some of them might have consequences under criminal law, and they might lead to the sequester of the property. So I would say that this aspect is extremely important, and you want to make sure that what you're purchasing is fully compliant with the building license, and as a consequence it's fully authorized. All the other aspects, encumbrances, limitation, third parties' rights, all these kind of aspects obviously will need to be attentively examined by your legal advisor before you actually purchase the property.